Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me. In my series fix the camera here, year 2021, Rick Miracle Report, and this is number 97. The date is November 26th, Friday, 2021, the day after Thanksgiving. So last year, instead of doing the New World Order and media press releases that I had been creating since 2005 with material that I had researched and media press releases, opinion pieces, you know, the articles you see on the internet or magazines or newspapers or watching the news or even videos. The New World Order media and press releases, I've got videos from 2005 to 2019. And my intention was to just continue with that title series. But I could tell that 2020 was going to be an unusual year, and that I felt I needed to kind of document the year with the prior to, actually, to the worldwide lockdown, because of the stuff that was in the news, the media, the press releases, and my significant other watches a couple of the astrologers. I find it amusing to read my horoscope and stuff like that, like most people. I don't take it too serious, although I do think there is something to it, just like I believe there's something to witchcraft and the occult and gray aliens and opening up portals to other dimensions. And apparently, prophecy. I mean, in the Bible, people have seen what's going to happen in the future. And so it's not so far-fetched to me to believe in time travel or some other dimension that has the records for this dimension. As Edgar Casey would tell us from the records. Forget the name of the records. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyways, so apparently there's more to reality than we all know. Anyways, the astrologers were saying early 2020 that Saturn was moving into Aquarius, and of course Saturn represents Satan in the Kabbalah, astrology, and other occult media. So Satan, Saturn moving into Aquarius, and this is the new age of Aquarius. So whether the chicken came before the egg or the egg came before the chicken, however you say that, we were leaving the age of Pisces and entering the age of Aquarius. And whether everything is unfolding naturally the way it should, or there are entities that are trying to create some kind of fulfilled reality, a new age. I don't know how it works. None of us know how it really works. I believe the occult believe they know how it works. And I believe that there are people into the occult that think that they are the aristocrats of the world, that they're better than the rest of us. Actually, they think they're so much better that we all should be slaves and they own the planet. And as Klaus Schwab said of the Economic Forum, i.e. the United Nations, we will own nothing, but we will be happy. That doesn't mean they won't own us and own everything. But apparently this freedom thing and civilization advancing and a lot of people getting education, well, apparently it's not acceptable to the aristocrats. And also, you talk about biblical prophecy, that all these things were foretold to happen in Christianity. There's prophecy in the Islamic religion, the Quran. There's prophecy in the Mayan religion, the tribes all over the world. There's prophecy in the Buddhist and Hindu religions. There's something called the Kali Yuga, the different ages, the rising and falling of ages, Kali Yuga. So no matter how you look at it, there is change taking place, and it seems to have been planned. And part of that plan, what I'm trying to get to here, is something called the War on Freedom. War on freedom. So, the elites would have you and I and everybody else believe that the resources are running out, that humans are causing an excess amount of CO2, warming the planet. It might explode any minute, burst into flames, or crack in half, I don't know. Then, of course, there's a lot of stuff in the media about UFOs and aliens, so pay attention. They got a lot of tricks in their hat. You don't know when they're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, i.e. maybe another false flag out of the hat. And then, of course, the virus thing, biological warfare. And as I continue to dig, I get more information on that. Remember, we're talking about the war on freedom. I just got this in the mail today. It ought to be an interesting book review. COVID-19 and the Global Predators. We Are the Prey. Leading Physicians. We Are the Prey. Look, a nice big thick book. 2021. I've been reading this book again. There's many versions of this book. But the protocols of the meetings of the learned elders of Zion. So as soon as you turn to the second page, you get the leader of these aristocrats, which happens to be a male and a female. He has a women's breast and a male unit there, and the male unit's surrounded by serpents. A flame on the top of his head, horns, wings, fallen angels, the moon. So I've been reading that, and there's just a lot of... it's funny how you continue to see new stuff in this old stuff all the time. Anyways, another thing I'll bring up right now. So I am talking about, and I explained this before, I started my research in 2005. And the topic today entails this mural behind me. That's why it's up still. Who are the Illuminati, Freemasons, Zionists, Satanists, Kabbalists, all that stuff? Illuminati, I said. Rosicrucians, Knights of Columbus, Knights of Malta, that control the CIA, the FBI, MI6, Mossad of Israel, controlling our presidents, our senators, our representatives, a bunch of unelected appointed officials all over the world now. Did you know that? They got all these trained professionals heading up almost everything and taking over the water supplies, privatizing them, sewer systems, privatizing them, all the agriculture, privatizing it, education, military, privatizing it. So somebody wants to take the control away from the governments and give it to these people, entities, that apparently have indemnity agreements all over the world, involved in almost everything, including vaccinating every person on the planet, including children. And I realize a lot of this information is redundant, but apparently it needs to be because nobody's moving and shaking the whole world to stop this. And then new people are learning it. So anyways, as I was saying earlier, I started my research in 2005. That's when I started collecting magazines and books and videos and press releases, opinion pieces, research material. You know, I really started looking at all the issues with a magnifying glass, examining it, going the extra mile than just listening to the news or seeing an article, searching it on the computer and printing it out, because I believed at some point in the future, the information will not be accessible. And I have noticed when you do searches now, you're more or less likely to not get the actual truth. They're tailoring the search results so that you get the, for all practical purposes, the aristocrats who control the government's point of view. So a lot of people always want to ask, who's doing this? Who's doing this? And apparently, if you read the Bible, do you believe in fallen angels? Do you believe in the Bible? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in Jesus Christ? And if you're a Buddhist or Hindu, do you believe in Buddha? Do you believe in Shiva and all these other deities? And why do a lot of these religions all over the world have serpents? The great dragon of China. Even the American Indians got serpents on their totem poles, and Mayans on the pyramidal ruins, there's serpents. So it's not so far-fetched anymore to believe. There appears to be some kind of other entities than we humans are running around this reality. I call it this reality because you got people who believe in flat earth, round earth, universe, galaxies, other dimensions. Again, we don't know everything, but we can say some things are kind of obvious, and that the reptilians appear to be everywhere, along with the gray aliens. If you read anything about the UFO issues in all the books, I have about 200 UFO books. And if you watch Star Trek series, there's usually a reptilian in every series, etc. And of course, the crazy monsters of beings of Star Wars. That's one kind of crazy, surreal world, Twilight Zone world. And then, of course, all the other TV programs, Zombies and Lucifer TV series and Gotham and Hunger Games movie series, and it's just endless of this manifested, created reality changing our paradigm. It's funny how you learn all these words as you go along. So anyways, I started my research in 2005, so I didn't have the issues of Nexus magazine from 2004 and 3 and 2, wondering to myself, what was being reported before I woke up in 2005. In 2005, I woke up, I didn't know anything. 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009. It took a long while to get up to speed, to get these books and do some research. So around 2010 and 11, that's when I started making videos on sky spraying. In 2013, I started putting my face in videos, making book reviews, etc. So it takes a while to wake up. And that's why I make these videos. I'm having a conversation as honestly as I can. I encourage people to be skeptical and look everything up. I don't mind that. I expect that. And then if you start looking it up and you get to the truth, it's more likely to make an impact on you than whether just watching my video and just moving about your day and moving on and not changing anything. Then you're actually part of the problem, not the solution. Nobody can be apathetic and neutral. It's not going to work. You got to choose between the black and white, between the good and the evil. And apparently the evil run the show, so it's not so easy to find out what the good is. The good is being censored. The truth is being censored. So anyways, I went and got the back issues of NEXUS magazines, and I took a picture of them. I got them on a table there. So how I sorted them out, because from 2000 to 2021 is 21 issues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I could only fit 7 on the table. So I put 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. These last ones here are just that year, so that I could take a picture and show you. So each one of those stacks is back here is 12 magazines for 2 years. So I started going back trying to see what was being reported and how we citizens were being warned before I woke up. And on many different issues. I thought it was kind of important. And it does keep me interested in this research game, trying to find out these little mysteries. Before I get started, I think it's pertinent to this conversation. Did you know that President Joe Biden's appointees, his people who he selected to work with him when he got elected, did you know that most of them are all Jewish? Great helmsman, America's great helmsman, committed to diversity and bravely rejecting taking on white men, moving on instead to a simply splendid variety. Is there a variety there to you? They're all Jewish. Top-level appointees. Just pointing out a couple things. And apparently with this COVID thing, they're now going after the children. And apparently in the news today, it said that the Congress or whatever, the FDA has approved the vaccine for children 6 through 17. And also, I got this little sheet here. I made a couple videos with the Rockefeller family. So I want you to know that you can go on the internet, Yahoo Image, and look up Rockefeller quotes. David Rockefeller quotes. So I need to read one to you, and it's very pertinent to this conversation. The war on freedom. Everything I just showed you. There was one more document I wanted to share. But David Rockefeller says, 1994, "We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis. The nations will accept the New World Order." David Rockefeller. Well, I had one more document. I'll just tell you about it, but it is important for this conversation. Here's one here. Climate change continues to batter British Columbia. So you got climate change, you got it's in this document here. You got the Project for a New American Century, 1997. Remember what David Rockefeller just said. And what I'm giving you right now is a shortcut to why all this is happening. Project for a New American Century. They need to topple all the governments in the Middle East. Because... and you see that Joe Biden's administration is largely Jewish. So was Trump's. So was Bush and Biden and Obama, everybody. Anyways, they got this plan for the Odin Yin plan called Greater Israel. And you can see it encompasses half of Iraq, large of Syria, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, parts of Egypt. They want to return to the ancient boundaries of the kingdom of Judea. So when you talk about the project for a new American century involving Bush, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld signers in 1997, and you talk about Greater Israel, 2017 article. This is Global Research 2013. So this goes back 100 plus years. So you can clearly see all of the evidence to what's happening, a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. So the point is to bring all that about. Apparently, they're using the sustainability issue, and they plan on making more than 2/3 of the whole planet completely off limits to we the people. Which means the elite, remember, according to Klaus Schwab, Economic Forum, i.e. United Nations, we will own nothing, but we will be happy. And 2/3 of the world or more will be off limits to us. So they're forming these huge investment environmental groups. Where did they get all the money? They're taking it from us. And they're buying up the world. We all know that Jeff Bezos bought up a lot of farmland. Bill Gates bought up a lot of farmland. Well, anyways, and they've been using this Sierra Group and other environmental groups to pretty much buy up the world, all in the name of nature, which is completely opposite. In many locations where they have toppled governments and taken resources, they're tearing up the real estate more than they ever have, just like fracking and pumping oil in the Gulf and making huge oil spills and all of that. So the bottom line is they're lying. And the people who are creating this new world order are liars. I'll say that again and again. They're liars. Synagogue of Satan, the serpent. They're deceivers, and it's a lot of deception. So again, so if they're all liars are in charge of the Biden administration. And let's not let the Republicans off the hook with the project for a new American century, toppling all the governments in the Middle East, and all his appointees are largely Jewish people, and the plans for a greater Israel, as per prophecy. And this book I just got, this biological warfare, as we're all aware, all this here, we are the prey. You see, you're starting to see a common denominator here? We are the prey. And they even have a whole plan here, many pages, of what they intend to do to us. I just flipped it open in the middle. Anywhere, I have quite a lot of confidence, no matter where I split this document, 40, 50 pages, it'll tell us the truth. It says right here, masses led by lies. I just flipped it over. I did not have that pre-planned. But I guess that happens to me all the time. Moreover, the art of directing masses and individuals by means of cleverly manipulating theory and verbiage, by regulations of life in common, and all sorts of quirks, in all which the goyim understand nothing. They call us goyim, it means cattle. That's the aristocrats, the Zionist Jewish folks, as mentioned in Revelation in the Bible, 2.9, 3.9, 16 pages, the last couple pages of the Bible. Jews who call themselves Jews but are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, the serpent. Remember, we're leaving the age of Pisces, the fish. Jesus' symbol was the fish. Christianity's symbol was the fish. It was the beginning of the age of Pisces. Now we're at the age of Aquarius. I started year 2021, year 2020 Rick Miracle Reports because the astrologers were warning of all these signs of Saturn, Satan moving into Aquarius. You've all heard the songs, Age of Aquarius. Well, we're here, and they needed to eliminate freedom, and they got to misled the masses by lies. Reared on analysis, observation, on the delicacies of fine calculation, in this species of skill, we have no rivals. So the Jews are saying, in the area of skills, of rigging all the data and lying, they're saying they have no rivals. Any more than we have either in the drawing up of plans for political actions and solidarity. In this respect, the Jesuits alone might have compared with us. Well, they are the Jesuits. But we have contributed to discredit them in the eyes of the unthinkable mob as an overt organization, while we ourselves, all the while, have kept our secret organization in the shade. However, it is probably all the same to the world, who is its sovereign Lord, whether the head of the Catholics or the despot of the blood of Zion. But to us, the chosen people, it is very far from being a matter of indifference. For a time, perhaps, we might be successfully dealt with by a coalition of the goyim of all the world. But from this danger we are secured by the discord existing among them, whose roots are so deeply seated that they can even now be plucked up. So we're all going to be plucked up by these people. All right, I hope I've showed you enough here to tell you there is a war on freedom. And this is the NEXUS magazine, back issue I got recently, October 2002. So before I started my research, and I woke up in 2005, not that I was completely oblivious, even after September 11th, 2001, I was already talking to other people when they were bombing and killing all of the Iraqis, Afghanistan, Arabs everywhere, North Africa. I tried to tell so many people, this is crazy. We need to stop this. And people would tell me, oh, what do you care, Rick? You're doing great. I had a house with a swimming pool and a couple businesses in Florida by the beach, a sailboat at the marina, a motorcycle and stuff like that. You think it's kind of the American dream, but when you wake up and you realize the American dream is about to be snatched away from everybody, the opportunities I had, these people are taking it away. The young people that come after me won't have those opportunities. And I saw that. So I decided to make these videos and do my research. And first, I believed I had to do research for 10 years. Before I thought I had any right to speak up. You got to do some work. You can't just voice your opinion if you just want to guess at things. You need to get the books and all of the evidence from the current press releases in the newspaper and the media. You need to get the facts. Anyway, so here's another fact in 2002. This analysis of available evidence suggests the complicity of covert U.S. military and intelligence groups in the events surrounding September 11, 2001. So I believe this is part 3 of some articles that were in the NEXUS magazine from the author of this article, who is... see what his name is here. Continued on page 16. Nafez Mossadegh Ahmed's, so it seems like he's an Arab who wrote this article. He wrote a book, The War on Freedom. You can go get the book. His last name is A-H-M-E-D. A-H-M-E-D. The War on Freedom. How and Why America Was Attacked. September 11, 2001. The website, if it's still up. This is a 2001 article. 20 years later. TheWarOnFreedom.com. It is reprinted with permission of the Institute for Policy Research and Development in the UK. So Ahmed, I guess, lives in the UK, United Kingdom. Anyways, let me read on here. And again, a lot of this might be redundant, but you know, what I know now, late November 2021, and all the videos and all the books and everything else and what's happened since then, it does make it worth it to rehash this data and kind of put it into perspective and to see that climate change, sustainability, and the biological threat of viruses, which have been around forever, just like climate change. The climate's been changing forever. But they're playing us like fools, and a lot of us are not seeing it. So it says here, in examining any crime, a central question must be, who benefits? Now, I showed you all that data before I started this discussion on this article. Who benefits? You saw the plans for Greater Israel. You saw the policy for a new American century involving the same people in the Bush administration that brought us September 11th, 2001, and toppling all the governments in the Middle East, passing legislation like the Patriot Act, restricting our freedoms, reducing our freedoms, even passing congressional laws authorizing them to use propaganda and deception in the news to sway public opinion. Even H.R. House Resolution 6666, which gives the authorization and lawfully permits them to get ID 2020, ID 2021, apparently now going to be ID 2022, where everybody in the world will need the ID or they won't be able to buy or sell. So it seems like the whole biological vaccination thing is just a step up the steps to get to the top of the platform of the New World Order. And so they have to, in order to bring us and keep this New World Order, they have to convince the people of the world that they can't be free. They can't trust anybody. There was even an article the other day that vehicles have been weaponized because, as you've probably seen in the media, another knucklehead drove a car into a group of people. And I do know that the powers that be, MK Ultra, Project Montauk, and so much more, and using the computers and technology and artificial intelligence, they can, and they do, mind control humans, and we will be going over that material. So in examining any crime, a central question must be, who benefits? I just showed you all that. The Greater Israel of Joe Biden's administration, most of the appointees running the whole world are Jewish, which means they're dual citizens. They're not just citizens of the USA, they're also citizens of Israel. And so how can you serve two masters? And apparently their master is on the dollar bill behind me. And most of us in the United States, our master, if you want to call it a master, would be God or Jesus Christ and our religious beliefs. So those people are not serving the God of the Christians, which, by the way, is already legislation. Congress passed it that the Noahide laws say if you believe in a false deity, punishable by a crime called heresy, punishable by beheading. So if you don't know about Noahide laws, go look into it, and you'll see images of U.S. presidents signing the Noahide laws into law, surrounded by rabbis. All right. The principal beneficiaries of the destruction of the World Trade Center are in the United States. So the principal beneficiaries of those who destroyed the Twin Towers and all of that are in the United States. I would suggest that a lot of these people are involved and they're working for the Biden administration. Got to keep digging these out, the documents. But I'm confident if you're watching this, you can remember all of this stuff. All right, the beneficiaries, destruction, World Trade Center, the Bush administration, Project for a New American Century. Prior to the Bush administration, they had already made plans to topple all the governments in the Middle East. Israel has been working for 100 years for Greater Israel, so all the other governments had to be toppled. All the citizens had to be killed. The Bush administration, the Pentagon, they control the country. The CIA, they have the CIA, the FBI in cahoots with them. So we citizens can't depend on the CIA or the FBI to defend us, apparently, regrettably. And the military, a lot of military people are leaving, and police are leaving. Intelligence officers have been leaving, that's been in the news, because they refuse to take the mandatory mark of the beast required identification that you can't buy or sell. Obviously, the mark of the beast behind me. The weapons industry, the oil industry, it is reasonable to ask whether those who have profited to such an extent from this tragedy contributed to bringing it about. Investigative journalist Patrick Martin. All right, so anyways, this is a several-part series of articles that have been in Nexus magazine. And apparently this is the last one, the conclusion. I made another video, part 96. This is part 97, Smoke and Mirrors. I think I did that the 24th. That would have been 2 days ago. So if you haven't seen that one, watch it. Smoke and Mirrors. Trying to see the page here. Well, let me start reading this one. As far as the facts on record are concerned, the best explanation of them, in the opinion of this author, is one that points directly to the United States state responsible for the events of September 11, 2001. A detailed review of the facts points not only to Kabul, but to Riyadh, Istanbul, and most principally, Washington. So apparently, if you look at some of the evidence, it seems Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Washington are in cahoots to topple all the governments in the Middle East. A military strategy, policy for a new American century I just showed you, and toppling all the countries in the Middle East. Furthermore, in the opinion of this author, the documentation presented in this study strongly suggest, though not necessarily conclusive, that significant elements of United States government, military agencies had extensive advance warning of the September 11th attacks and in various ways had complicity in these attacks. This is certainly not a desirable inference, but it is one that best explains the available data. So if you can see that the people do control our reality, I mean, I hate to keep bringing these up, but these are the appointees in the Biden administration. They're dual citizens. You can't serve two masters. The Jewish religion is completely incompatible with Christianity. Part of prophecy says they're going to destroy, in the Communist Manifesto, in the Protocols of Zion, David Rockefeller, with all of his quotes, all they need is a big event to be able to take control of the world. So you can see that September 11th was one of those events. The worldwide lockdown was well prepared for. I've been showing the data. Anyway, so moving on here. This examination, remember, this is a conclusion. You can go get the book. I think it's highly desirable to go get the book, and you can take my word for it to a point, but you need to get all the facts and look into it. The truth is very important for everybody to know. The elite, the people who control the mass media, do not want you to know the truth, do not want you to look into the truth. And there's some more crazy stuff going on, but this attack on humanity and this new paradigm, this new reality is expanding. And apparently Facebook is changing its name to Meta. And what it entails is you're going to put these glasses on and these other instruments on your body and experience another reality. You know, just like if you're in a Star Wars movie with those entities. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of alternate reality involving sex and everything else. So it promises to be a very diabolical, amoral world. Can you just see it? Put the goggles on and these perverts having sex with children in virtual reality. Maybe snuffing people out in virtual reality. I know it's too gross to talk about. But they're doing it, not me. You can go see the commercials. You're going to see more of the commercials. You can buy the stuff. You can get onto the computer. 5G is going to make it super fast. And people are going to be sucked into the satanic reality. Crazy. But let's go back to reality here, September 11th. This examination has found that a specific war on Afghanistan, to be launched in October 2001, had been planned for at least a year and in general terms related to regional, strategic, and economic interests had actually been rooted in at least 4 years of strategic planning. And of course, that would be here. Where did I put it? Project for a New American Century. I apologize, but I think it's important. So it's been planned for years, as well as the plans for the Greater Israel. And this is one of the technologies. We are the prey with all of this bioweapons and computer control, artificial intelligence. So I'm reading this 2002 article. So it's kind of interesting, you know, to be here in 2021 and only weeks away from 2022, and to look back and see what they were doing and what's happened since then, and putting the whole story together. This planning, in turn, is the culmination of a decade of regional strategizing. All that was required was a trigger for these war plans, which was amply provided by the tragic events of September 11th. So if you've been watching this video so far, almost 45 minutes, now you know who and why. It's these satanic, Luciferic, Zionist, synagogue of Satan elite who call themselves Jews but are not. All right, I'm going to try to just read my highlighted sentences, so maybe I can get some of these facts out. I can't get all the facts out. It is a fact that the American intelligence community received multiple authoritative warnings, both general and specific, of a terrorist attack on the U.S. using civilian airlines as bombs, targeting key buildings located in the nation's capital and New York City, and likely to occur around early to mid-September. So, they knew all this was going to happen. There are hundreds, thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of videos, most of them probably censored from YouTube and Facebook, and information like this on Twitter. Again, the mainstream media, the liars and deceivers, are trying to keep this data suppressed. But on places still like BitChute and other websites and social media, and books you can purchase, if you go on A-Books or other used book sites, just type in 911 or Terra or New World Order, and you'll get an abundance of selection of used cheap books. And I really think that people should do that. Use cheap books. These things will be banned. You won't be able to get the truth. And to a lot of people that I've been watching on the internet, you know, looking forward to this New World Order, there's a lot of people who do not want to know the truth. They think this New World Order is a good thing. They think taking the vaccination, maybe hundreds of vaccinations for their whole life, is a good thing. Every few months, every 6 months. And being tied into the computer with Facebook's Meta is a good thing. And suppressing people from being free and doing anything. A lot of people are believing the lies and believing it's a good thing. And I'm doing this because I had the opportunities. When I was young in Maine, I could take my rifle and go into the woods and shoot a deer, or shoot a turkey or whatever, a pheasant. And I could go into the woods and see the wild, or go to the beach, or go water skiing, or get a sailboat and make money and own a business or own a house and have opportunity and grow. But these things are being taken away. So here I am trying to alert people so we can prevent this from happening. But is anybody listening? I know a few people are. But you know, if I get 200 or 300 or even 400 views, I'm lucky on a video. There's 9 billion people on this planet, 7 billion people on this planet. I guess they would have us believe there's 9 billion. I'm not so sure about that. Or 8 billion, or 7, or 6, or 5, or 4. And then the other percentage of population groups, I think that they're lying about that also. In other words, I think there's a lot more of the enemy, the people who call themselves the aristocrats of the world. There's a lot more of them than they would let everybody know. So we may have a situation where there's a lot of enemy amongst us everywhere. Just saying, how could they pull this off? So the secret Intelligence communities were warned. Next highlighted sentence. A detailed investigation of the actual chronology of events of September 11th strongly suggests that this sort of massive systematic failure was possible only through willful obstruction from key U.S. government and military officials. Like I said before, I could go on and on and on, but you can go on the internet and look up some videos on 911 and get all the horrible details. It says here, it is documented fact that the Bush administration furthermore systematically blocked investigations of terrorists involved or strongly suspected of being involved, including Osama bin Laden, his family, and suspect Saudi royals who supported him prior to September 11th. Even after September 11th, the Bush administration has continued to misdirect investigations and block pertinent inquiries, with the FBI concentrating futile efforts on Germany rather than Saudi Arabia. So they were trying to get the FBI just to be looking at Germany about 911 instead of where the real culprits came from, in cahoots with Pakistan and the elites who control the U.S. with the project for a new American century and all of the Zionist Jewish appointees in all of these secret societies and groups. Where, according to the late FBI director, next page, John O'Neill, the real source of bin Laden's network lies. In particular, it is documented fact that the Bush administration has sealed any inquiry into the complicity of the ISI, Pakistan, inter-service intelligence in the September 11th attacks. So apparently Pakistan, go look at a map if you don't know where it is, next door neighbor to Afghanistan, and on the other side of Pakistan is India, strategically located. Apparently the government toppled and a puppet master put in place, but apparently with its military and guerrillas, they do a lot of services for the CIA. Indeed, there is reason to believe that through the ISI, Pakistan, which has close links to the CIA and plays the role of regional instrument of U.S. interest, elements of U.S. military intelligence may have had a direct complicity in funding and supporting the terrorists who undertook the air attacks on September 11th. So the people for the Project of American Century and all those appointees in the Biden administration, Trump administration, Obama administration, Bush administration, all these secret societies, Freemasons, Skull and Bones, Illuminati groups, billionaires, corporations, who have control of all of the politicians, and apparently military leaders. Even during the Obama administration, a lot of military leaders were stepping down, and they've been continued to be removed, and new people are being replaced. And even now in the newspaper, one of the press releases, it's talking about the new police and the strict rules that are taking place to replace all the police who have been defunded or have quit for many reasons, demonized by the media. So somebody is replacing, and it's not hard to see or imagine, the police force in America. And things will probably start happening like they are in Australia and New Zealand and other countries all over the world, Austria, Germany. So they are slowly getting the old guard out, and they're bringing in the new guard. And who knows who these people are. You know, they could be Russians, they could be from any country, Yugoslavia, communist people. Apparently they wear the dark helmets and uniforms. You can't tell who they are. and several of the videos in Australia, there's been a lot of speculation they're Chinese. So that's part of the New World Order plan, is to martial law the whole country and have foreign troops here who do not speak English to police us with an iron fist and all of their weapons. So that's the future plan. And if you're watching this video and you don't care or you want to let it happen, I can only say don't be surprised when it does. What did you do to try to stop it? And again, I know a lot of people watching my video and other videos. I'm preaching to the choir. All right, going back to this highlighted portions. You can see when I'm reading it, I highlight stuff. And I did this just to have, like I said, like I always do. It's just a conversation. You know, you spend an hour and a half watching me, looking at me, listening to me, taking notes like I do. I showed you how I take notes on everything. And go look it up. Don't believe me. Please, be a skeptic. Wouldn't hurt my feelings. Just know that the mainstream media, the news coming from the government and the United Nations and World Health and CDC and Mr. Fauci and Mr. Gates and all these people about the climate change, they're all lying to you, is my opinion. And I have thousands of hours of research documented in videos showing this again and again and again. And I've had nobody point out that I'm reporting false news, even though the government wants to pass legislation saying it is misleading or false news and a threat to society. So they will demonize the good people because the evil people are in charge. Just the way it works. When good men do nothing, evil men take control. All right, by obstructing investigations of terrorists and by maintaining what effectively amounts to covert financial, political, and even military alliance with them, the Bush administration has effectively supported their activities. So I read all the other words in between these highlighted sentences, but I can't read the whole document. I can show you where to get it. You can go to NEXUS.com and get back issues. You can subscribe on their website for a small fee and probably get all these issues online. They do sell a disc, I believe, for about $60 that has every magazine in it since they started in 1994. A great resource because there's such a variety of topics. As shocking and horrifying as these conclusions are, they are based on extensive analysis of events leading up to, during, and after September 11, 2001. Okay, next page. So it's the highlighted sentence here is the facts as documented. I'll just read some of this. A summary of the facts on record as documented in this study is presented here. And again, I know a lot of people have watched a lot of videos and probably know most of this stuff, but it doesn't hurt to look at it from the perspective of where we are at the end of 2021. Knowing that this all was just part of a plan for Agenda 2021 and Agenda 2025. Have you ever heard of those things? Agenda 2030. Sustainability, making 2/3 of the real estate all over the world off limits to we the people. Probably bringing us some kind of Hunger Games reality, because obviously most of us will try to resist this and refuse to give up our beliefs in God and Jesus or whatever other religion you have. I've listened to the rabbis. They've pretty much demonized all religions around the world. Both the United States and the former USSR are responsible for the rise of religious extremism, terrorism, and civil war within Afghanistan since the 1980s. So that's a good sentence because I want to say this. Whether it's the USSR communist or the United States aristocrats running our country, these Zionist people I showed you, They're playing each other against each other with we citizens as pawns, whether you're in the USSR or in America or in Britain or in France or in Pakistan or in any country, Brazil, Argentina, all over the world. Your governments are either controlled by the communist or the capitalist aristocrat elites, believing they owe no responsibility or allegiance to the citizens of the countries all over the world. At this particular point in the game, it seems like we are all disposable. The technologies have advanced, but it does seem like they want to keep some humans as slaves or entertainment, maybe even food, sacrificing for their religions. I've reported on all of this. We've seen all the satanic symbols. So the United States, according to this author, however, is directly responsible for the cultivation of a distorted jihadi ideology that, along with the U.S. arms and training, fueled the ongoing war and acts of terrorism within the country after the withdrawal of Soviet forces. So think about this. If you know what's going on in the mainstream media, and you know President Joe Biden pulled all the troops out of Afghanistan, and you know that they're bringing plane loads and plane loads of the Afghanistan people to America, and you know they're getting rid of the police and a lot of other people and bringing new people in to take over those jobs, do you think those Afghanistan people whose country has been bombed and destroyed perceivably by us, we the people, they don't realize there's a secret cabal, satanic Illuminati elite running the world with plans to bring about the Antichrist? And so they put them into positions and they say that we citizens are evil. They probably have a lot of hate for us. And then, of course, they're bringing in the Haitians and they're bringing in the people from the Middle East that they've been bombing and destroying into Germany, into France, into the United States. They're bringing in these foreigners from all countries all over the world, trying to dilute our culture, our religion, and our race even. They want, for some reason, they're afraid of white people. They say it, not me. I've showed it again and again. All right, next paragraph. The U.S. approved the rise of the Taliban. So you got these groups like Taliban, Al-Qaeda, ISIS. The U.S. intelligence and military and the aristocrats who rule the world created these guerrilla groups. Make no mistakes. They weren't self-developed from angry Arabs or whatever. A lot of money coming from Saudi Arabia, Israel, the United States, usually covertly, like what's been in the news for many years, secretly supplying monies and weapons. And where do you think these people get rocket launchers and bombs and even training them, as per this article, and much more evidence, training these people at military bases in Pakistan, in the United States? We got a war going on, and the target is we the people. And as the title of this article says, the war on freedom. So now you know why all this is taking place in ID 2022 that's going to be unfolding. The U.S. government and military planned a war on Afghanistan prior to September 11th. Where did I leave off here? For at least a year, the U.S. government has consistently blocked investigations and inquiries of Saudi royals, Saudi businessmen, members of the bin Laden family implicated in supporting Osama bin Laden. So the way I understand it, I think from Spotlight magazine, something I showed a long time ago, the Saudi government, you would think that they would be Islam Arabs. They are Arabs, and they do have a king, but I think that they're Jewish, and they try to hide that. I've gone over that a long time ago. So if you know more information, put it in the comments section. So when you look at Saudi Arabia and you look at the plans for the Greater Israel, which encompasses half of Saudi Arabia, so if they are a wolf in sheep's clothing, or whatever you want to say it, appearing to be innocent Arabs when they're really aristocrat Jewish people, that appears to be the case. All right, so Saudi businessmen, the U.S. government blocking investigation, bin Laden family, terrorist operations linked to him. This amounts, in effect, to protecting the leading figures residing in Saudi Arabia who possess ties with Osama bin Laden. The U.S. government has consistently blocked attempts to indict and apprehend Osama bin Laden, thus effectively protecting him directly. The U.S. government has allowed suspected terrorists linked to Osama bin Laden to train at U.S. military facilities financed by Saudi Arabia, as well as U.S. flight schools for years. So they've been training these Arabs for years to bring about a lot of destruction and turmoil to the Middle East. You got to feel bad about the Middle East, and then they're all destroyed. And even communism did that to Europe and Germany and Austria and the United States and countries all over the world prior to World War II, if you didn't know that. So high-level elements of the U.S. government, military, intelligence, law enforcement agencies received numerous critical and urgent warnings of the September 11th attacks, which were of such a nature as to reinforce one another successfully. So, there's such an interesting domino effect to all these things that happened during September 11th. Even all kinds of evidence, if you go watch the videos, of the building having interesting people in charge of security. In the airports, interesting people. I say interesting, part of the Synagogue of Satan groups of security of airports. So these huge corporations from these countries have a lot of power that we're all unaware of, and that's behind the battle of privatizing everything. So they don't have a responsible government for anything, if you don't know this stuff. Only a full-fledged inquiry would suffice to clarify in a definite manner why the American intelligence community failed to act on the warnings received. So if all this stuff was false, and the thousands or hundreds of thousands of videos and all of the evidence and all the books published, if everything was false and the government could prove it's false, wouldn't people have written books and showed that it's all false, and that indeed these people writing these books and doing this research were fabricating it and making it up? Wouldn't people be arrested? But the position of the government is just to deny that it exists and that everybody is a conspiracy theorist. The same thing with sky spraying. Even though you can take a camera and take a picture or a video and point it out to people, it doesn't exist. And even though the climate has changed throughout the ages and warming periods, ice ages and warming periods, only now, because of people breathing CO2, are humans causing climate change. Apparently we didn't have any climate change before. Every day was a sunshiny day, as the song goes. But we know that's not true. I grew up in Maine, and let me tell you, I'm 66 years old, and 50 and 60 years ago, we had 5 and 6 foot snowstorms. The weather has not changed. Now, they are controlling the weather right now, but that's another story, and probably more articles in these NEXUS magazines will be provided so we can have another conversation and have as many conversations as it takes for people to get it. Got it? However, the nature of the multiple warnings received along with the false claims by U.S. intelligence agencies that they had no specific warnings of what was about to occur suggests that the agencies indeed had extensive foreknowledge of the attacks, but are now attempting to prevent public recognition of this. So wait a minute, we got a Bush person as president, George Bush Jr. Wasn't George Bush Sr. in charge of the CIA when he was young? The answer, of course, is yes, and it seems like they can be implicated in covering up or involvement in all kinds of nefarious false flags, including assassination of presidents and leaders all over the world, which has made the news headlines numerous times. Supplying weapons, creating turmoil, toppling countries. Apparently, one thing I saw in a video the other day is, with this making 2/3 or more of the planet off limit to the rest of us, and having a lot of mining going on for resources, lithium and stuff like that. This one person was mentioning when they were doing all this acquisition of resources in South America, and the natives didn't agree and wanted to try to battle it, they would take the natives to the top of some of the mountains and put bags over their head, blindfold them, and just start pushing them off the cliffs. This isn't right. This isn't right. Even killing all those people in the Middle East, bombing every village, every house, orchards, all the warehouse, all their facilities, agriculture, and now they're systematically destroying the whole supply chain all over the world. That's why I have this mural up. Anyways, it is what it is, and if people don't want to wake up, as Richie from Boston would say, do something about it, or not. Another highlighted sentence here: to succeed, such systematic obstructions could only be set in place by U.S. key government and military officials. So again, you can't deny when a government has all of these people appointed. And one person in the comment section of this article made a comment that this reminded them of the people put in charge after the invasion of the Saudi Arabia, Soviet Union. The roster looks strikingly similar to the first government of the Soviet Union. I'm sure that's just a coincidence, though. I like reading comments. So if you're not familiar with that story, I'll tell you briefly. But after World War I, they invaded Russia as revenge because Russia was refusing the Illuminati control banking system people, and even intervened in the Civil War in 1863-4-5, when France was supporting the North and Britain was supporting the South. They were trying to divide the United States. Russia sent a fleet of ships over here on the East Coast and West Coast and told France and Britain if they succeeded in dividing America, Russia would invade and attack them. So they prevented the Russians and the Jewish elite behind me, all those people working for President Biden today, their ancestors. They promised revenge on Russia, as well as the police action because of the communist activity all over the territory from Romania, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Poland, called the Pale of Settlement between the German countries and Russia, because of all the chaos and anarchy those Yiddish Jewish people were causing after being exiled and banished from Central and Western Europe in the 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, 300 years, and because of an incompatibility of religion, the Satanists against the Christians. And So they fled to towards the east and were stopped at St. Petersburg, Russia, and settled from Poland down. And after 200 years there, with so much destruction going on, the German countries on the western side of the Pale of Settlement from Poland down to Ukraine, the German countries on the western side and the Russian on the eastern side, they had to take responsibility and be the police and try to stop the slaughter of all the peasants after being inhabited by the Jewish people for 200 years, who were exiled and banished from Central and Western Europe, 1300, 1400, 1500s. So anyways, they got stories like this going on for trouble between the Synagogue of Satan people and the rest of us for 3,000 years. So those are just facts. It's not anti-Semitism. I am an anti-Satanist. I'm not a supporter of witchcraft and devils and demons and this new age and Facebook's meta and wearing a virtual reality headset and integrating humans with artificial intelligence and mandatory vaccinations and pedophilia and all these things these insane people are into. I'm opposed to that. I don't even know what a Jewish person is. I know what a Hebrew is. They're called Shepherdetic Jews. And I know what a Khazarian is. They're called Akhenazi Jews from Khazaria. So these Jews are either Shepherdetic, the old Hebrew shepherds, Shepherdetic, desert wanderers, or they're from the area to the west of Mongolia and to the east of Germany, a Nordic white people, very barbaric, next door neighbor to Mongolia, Genghis Khan. And for 1,000 years, I mean, they were so barbaric, other kingdoms would hire their warriors to fight their wars. But anyways, they were so barbaric and so evil, their king wanted to have them have a religion. So he interviewed the Christians, and he interviewed the Islamic people, and he interviewed the Jewish people. But the Jewish people said, we're God's chosen people. So the king of the barbaric Khazarians, now called Akhenazi Jews, the bulk of the Jews in the world today, very white Nordic people. But they do not have the same DNA as other white people. And anyways, apparently some kind of mixed DNA with the Mongolians, which were also barbaric and insane, raiders and murderers all over Asia and Europe. So apparently there's some kind of blood tie with Mongolians and Khazarians, now called Akhenazi Jews. Just so you know that there's a lot more here than meets the eye. So it's funny, when you know all this and you're reading this and you see all this other supporting information I've showed you, you kind of see a picture of some very evil men and women controlling everything, involving these families who are running our country, which apparently are not what they appear to be or what they would have us believe they are. So continuing to read here and eat up a few more minutes just to have this conversation. So to succeed, such systematic obstructions could only be set in place by key U.S. government and military officials. Both President Bush and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, mayors, displayed sheer indifference to the September 11th attacks as they were occurring, which further suggests their particular responsibility. Once again, a full-fledged inquiry is required into this matter. Remember, very important here on this issue, this is a 2002 magazine article. 12 months later, this is September-October issue. So 12 months after the event. That's important. What was being said 12 months after people's observations. And you could go watch hundreds of thousands of videos and books and press releases and articles. And all of it points to this being the truth. All right, let me read on and finish this video. independent journalist revealed that Mohammad Adman, an ISI Pakistan Director General, had channeled U.S. government funding to Mohammed Alta, described as the lead hijacker by the FBI. So CIA was in cahoots with Pakistan, and Pakistan's ISI, however you say it, ISA, Director General, so one of the leading people in charge of Pakistan's intelligence service, in cahoots with the CIA, had channeled U.S. government funding, so the money's coming from those elites, not we citizens in America, to the terrorist. The U.S. government protected Ahmad and itself by asking him to resign quietly after the discovery, thus blocking a further inquiry and a potential scandal. So a lot goes on behind the scenes. They don't want you to know the truth. The events of September 11th have in fact been of crucial benefit to the Bush administration, justifying the consolidation of elite power and profit with all these corporations and other elites and Israel and Saudi Arabia, etc., etc., both within the United States and throughout the world. The tragic events that involved the murder of thousands of innocent civilians were exploited by the U.S. government to crack down on domestic freedoms, while launching a ruthless bombing campaign on the largely helpless people of Afghanistan, directly resulting in the further killing of almost double a number of civilians that died in 9/11. All right, a little bit more here. Possible U.S. complicity in 9/11. I'm going to jump down to my highlighted paragraph. What it does mean is that the U.S. government, through its actions and inactions, effectively facilitated the attacks, protected those responsible, blocked attempts to prevent the attacks, maintained close political, financial, military, intelligence ties to key figures who supported those responsible. Whether or not every stage of these policies was a result of deliberation, the role that the U.S. government has played both historically, currently, in the key events leading up to and after September 11th strongly suggest U.S. responsibility for those events. So let's make one more review. So apparently all the presidents choosing all the people to surround themselves with are of a particular group of people. It's always been in the news. Doesn't matter if it's a Republican president or a Democratic president. People need to get that in their heads. Go look up Rockefeller quotes. Go study Rockefeller. He tells you that all they need is a big event to bring about the New World Order. I believe one of the Rockefeller quotes is, "We will have our New World Order, of peacefully or not," something like that. So you get the implication. They will have the New World Order. And I've got from 2000, probably 1999 to today, so let's see, how many years is that? 22 years times 6, NEXUS magazines, 20 years, this is 2020, 2000, and throughout these years, these kinds of warnings and articles are in these magazines. You can see documents by the government itself, and go look up on the computer, Greater Israel. They even have a name for it. It's called the Odin-Yinyan Plan. So they created this plan to get the ancient kingdom lines of Judea. So all these countries obviously had to be taken down. And I believe Iran is right over here somewhere, huge, right here, Iran. So Iran is a huge country which is in opposition to the Jews. So that's why it's continued to be demonized. And they tell us their plan. Anybody who wants to can go on the internet and get the protocols of the meetings of the learned elders of Zion. And if you just flip it over anywhere, I'll just flip it over and read a paragraph. Of the protocols themselves, little need be said in the way of introduction. The book in which they are embroiled was first published in 1897 by Philip Stepanoff for private circulation among his intimate friends. The first time NEXUS published them was in 1901 in a book called The Great Within the Small, and reprinted in 1905. A copy of this is in the British Museum bearing the date of its reception, 1906. All copies that were known to exist in Russia were destroyed by the Kerensky regime. Under his successors, the possession of a copy by anyone in the Soviet land was a crime sufficient to ensure the owners of being shot on sight. So if you were in Russia after the invasion, after World War I, and you had a copy of this, you were shot on sight. This is what's coming to the world. This was in the book 1984. All these things will be illegal. It'll be a meta world, as Facebook is showing us. Virtual reality. This new transhumanist reality. But apparently they got to get everybody jabbed, including the children, to integrate everybody into this vast computer system. Weaponizing it so you can just push a button and kill people. Close their bank account. Take away their ID. Take away their driver's license. The fact is, in itself, sufficient proof of the genuineness of the protocols. The Jewish journals, of course, say that they are a forgery, leaving it to be understood that Professor Niles, who embroidered them in a work of his own, had concocted them for his own purposes. So, after all I've showed you in this video, and so many others, including this book, I need to read some of it. And how many pages is this? 641 pages. We Are the Prey, COVID-19 and Global Predators. Then I got to make another video. I made 2 parts on this book. Breaking the Tablets. This was, what year was this? 1930? 1930. And this is Mr. Maland, Samuel Maland, a Jewish person, I believe, telling us all about how the Jewish people are completely incompatible with the rest of us, and that they're planning to come into their own and rule the world. And the rest of us are slaves. A lot of us are not needed or wanted anymore, so I guess a lot of us will be dead. Kind of crazy reality. I've been showing this book. If you can get your hands on this book, I highly suggest it. Bloodlines of the Illuminati, Fritz Springmeier. It's got Rockefellers in here, Krupp, Van Doon, the Russian Connection, Russell, Rothschilds, Rockefeller, Lai, Kennedy family, DuPont. They've been working on these biological weapons, emerging viruses, AIDS, and Ebola. This book was published in 1996, I believe. All the details. AIDS and Ebola, all these influenza. Another book I've been going over showing you all this is connected. Murder by Injection. The Story of the Medical Conspiracy Against America, Eustace Mullins, famous author. This book was published. It's important to pay attention to the dates. 1988. 1988. All these famous authors, all these books, all these documents. Do you have any doubt the policy for a new American century involving all these people, the same groups of people who President Biden has appointed, same groups of people who worked with Obama, who worked with Trump. Trump is the one who recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, so they could move forward with annexing the temple site and rebuild King Solomon's temple to bring us this new one world religion. And remember why they destroyed the temple in the second time 2,500 years ago. Jesus came to the planet 2,000 years ago. 2,500 years ago, apparently God spoke to through the prophets of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, Baghdad, and said you have to go down to Jerusalem, kill the people, destroy the temple, because they're sacrificing their sons and daughters to the demon god Moloch. And all over Western and Central Europe in the 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, where the Jews were banished and exiled and had to leave or convert to Christianity because there was an incompatibility with Christianity because there were many dead bodies of sacrificed humans popping up. History just keeps repeating itself, and these people are bringing us the new age, and people are running downtown to get their demon tattoos and their demon vaccinations. And you get people wasting their breath and time making videos like me because we don't seem to be reaching very many people. The only thing I can do is tell people to take the link to the videos. If you don't like mine, I don't care. Go find somebody else's videos and that maybe say it better than I do and send them to other people, even if they get mad at you. People, we need to go ahead and step up and stop what's planned for the world. Anyways, sorry about ranting on this Friday, 5:30, November 26, 2021. But I've got a lineup of topics I want to talk about, documents and books I've been reading. And I wanted to get this one out of the way so I can move on to the next one and the next one. As long as I can and I'm able, I will. Rick Miracle reporting.